yourself a gun. What? Gun? Oh. What? Like a handgun for personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle and a lot of ammo. Gun?
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooty cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Get a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
It is Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime. My name is Michael.
Hey, and I'm Nick. Michael, what's going on?
Man, I'll tell you what, we have broke the cold snap. Unfortunately, the Yankees up north have not. Prayers to all of you who are stuck underneath the snow and that other assorted cold white stuff that comes from the sky. We had a really nice day. It was about 70, 72, 73 today. And I got to play a little bit with some firearms today. I got to do a little bit of repair work. And actually, I fired off a couple rounds at my friend's house. So.
Oh, that's a good deal, man. Anytime you get a chance to work with firearms or be around steel and any kind of wood in the grip of your choice, that's a good day.
Yeah, well, it wasn't too bad. I'm hoping these repairs work out. I believe I've talked about the shotgun that I was working on in the past. It was an old Stevens 311 H series, 12 gauge double barrel. It's the nifty because it's got the double triggers on it. Well, this is an older shotgun. I'd say it's probably close to about 40 years old, and hasn't been kept in the greatest condition all of its life. It's a new to me kind of shotgun, not necessarily a new shotgun. And the wood was a little drier than it probably should be in the stock, and it broke. And I've had a ongoing time trying to repair this. The way it broke, it just didn't lend itself to nailing, and didn't lend itself to putting a screw to it. So today I doweled it up and used some Gorilla Glue epoxy.
Is that the two-part epoxy, or is that just the water and the Gorilla Glue that you gotta mix together?
This is a two-part epoxy, and it comes in a double syringe, and you just pop off a little tap and squirt it out and mix it up, kind of like a JB Weld kind of process, and start slathering it on.
Oh,
and it dries to a clear. And it's set up pretty kind of quick. It's set up in about 5 minutes. It was really, really tacky real fast. And so put that together, drop the dowel in, and, well, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, that stock didn't get any worse than what it was. And then the other one was Beretta 92 that had a interesting kind of dinghy on it. The leading edge of the trigger guard was broken off. Oh, and I believe that the weapon fell, and I believe that it fell and probably struck something fairly solid like concrete or something. You know, I'm
something
thinking
harder than the metal of the trigger guard itself.
Yeah, exactly, because you could see the stress marks in the metal where the fracture came on, and anyhow, so that one's been a a bit of a repair odyssey as well. I originally tried fixing that with Gorilla Glue, not Gorilla Glue, excuse me, JB Weld, and that just didn't work out. And I think I didn't mix the JB Weld right. I think I mixed not enough of the hardener in,
Oh,
and it did hold, but it didn't get me more than 15 rounds in a magazine before the part was loose again.
yeah.
So I applied another liberal amount of Gorilla Glue epoxy to that and just slathered that stuff all over it. And it's not the prettiest, but it does dry clear. And I figure if it gets bad, I'll rough it up a little bit and go hit it with some I don't know, some sort of black touch-up paint.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that anybody that's ever had to repair a fracture or a rupture in any kind of wood surface, one of the things that folks learn is that you really have to be able to clamp down whatever it is that you're trying to do for the repair, and whether you use the two-part epoxies or you use Gorilla Glue or something like that, or the Loctite gel glue, you really got to be able to clamp it down so that you can get that bond. Wood is interesting because wood is porous, so a lot of that stuff that you think you're using a liberal amount actually gets absorbed into the wood and may not be enough there to actually join the two pieces together that you want, set apart. So, one of the things that I think is really good about it is that when you do use this stuff and it does tend to dry clear, you can go ahead and sand it down, and then you can go ahead and, if you want to, you can go ahead and repaint it, or some of the stuff will actually take a color to it. Some of the stains I've seen have been able to permeate that glue once it's set, and it won't look like it's 100% brand new, but it won't have that clear sheen to it. It'll just look like, hey, there's a little, maybe a little plastic shim or something like that in there. So that's something that's kind of working out okay.
Well, I'm hoping that this will hold. I can't put the money into the stock, a replacement stock. I had found some online. There are no polymer, plasticky, ATI tactical type stocks. No Tapco, no nothing like that out there for this old beast. So hopefully this works, because a replacement stock for it would be in the neighborhood of $125 to $175,
and that's probably more than the value of the shotgun to begin with.
It really is, because it's the shotgun goes boom every time, but it's a break action, and the shells don't eject straight far out. It's kind of older, kind of like a field gun where you got to pull the shells out so you can put the empties in your pocket like a gentleman and all that.
Right.
It'd be a good truck gun. I like it because it's a short little, coach gun kind of a thing, and I've had it for a while, so it's hard to part with that one. But I mean, I just can't. At the same time, I can't put the money into it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things where it becomes, is this something that is trade bait, or is this something that through whatever amount of effort you're going to invest in it, that you understand a certain amount of it is a sunk cost, and you're not going to be able to get that back out in value, other than maybe if it's something that you want to turn into an heirloom and pass it on.
This is not heirloom quality. As a matter of fact, this is so un-heirloom quality, and it was in such rough shape when I first acquired it that I took it to a chop saw, and I chopped the barrel down to the legal length of 18.5 inches. And legal length is actually 18 inches, and I gave myself a half inch just in case them government rulers are not good.
And you know that they're made by the blind folks at the Lighthouse. So.
That's right. Blind, the same people who make the MRE condiment packs and pens.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I'll tell you what, those are the best 5.56 millimeter pens that you could ever have. Little known fact for our listeners out there is that the U.S. government Skillcraft pen, which is black and it's got a little bit of a silver ring right around the middle, that is the exact diameter of a bullet. So one of the tried and true methods of getting somebody who can't hit the broadside of a barn to pass the U.S. Army marksmanship test is to go ahead and have somebody who's sympathetic to your ability to stay in service punch a couple of holes in your target with the 5.56 pen instead of you being able to do it with your 5.56 rifle.
That's a nifty little tidbit and sort of disturbing.
Yeah. So put it this way: if you have any commissioned officers in your family, and you know they don't go to the range, but they don't ever get kicked out of service, there's probably a sympathetic sergeant first class who's like, yeah, okay, sir, yeah, ma'am, go ahead, yeah, you're fine. You hit 40 targets or 40 shots in the same hole. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Yes, dear, you're right.
Yes. So yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that because I may or may not have had to do that very same thing for a captain in the JAG Corps who honestly believes she hit all 40 shots in the same hole. And yeah,
I'm sure Lieutenant Oakley had some sort of skill with the rifle.
Yeah, like meaning she didn't shoot anybody else with it. So that was,
and let us refer to the 4 rules of firearms safety. Not shooting anybody else with it unintentionally is in the rules somewhere. I think it's like rule 3.5.
Yeah, there you go. So it's one of those things where the things we do for the people who basically end up going on to work for the government.
People who hold the chain.
Yeah.
The things we do for the people who hold the chain.
There you go. So yeah, Michael, actually I got a chance to do something firearms related. I made a purchase this weekend, actually on Friday afternoon. So
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I went ahead and have been perusing the different manufacturers. I think a lot of folks, listeners, know that there are some deals out there on AR parts right now. You pretty much take your pick of the clearinghouse, whether it's Brownells or Midway USA or some of the others, and I ended up getting one of probably the last remaining from a production run from Palmetto State. It's a stripped lower that comes with the Afghanistan country logo, and it's a no frills AR lower, and it's stripped, of course. But I was able to pick one up for $49 and $9 shipping straight to my FFL.
That's not a bad deal, and you've got a kind of a nice deal with your FFL who cut you a thank you for serving deal.
Yeah. Actually, probably the best thing I could have ever done was show up over at the local hardware store and be there in uniform. And the guy was just like, when I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm new in the area, and I'd just like to know. I saw that you have an FFL on the national database, and was wondering if you do transfers. And the guy's like, well, nobody really ever asked me about that before. And I said, well, you know what? Apparently I've cornered the market on asking you then. So, what do you charge? And the guy says, well,
let's get to it.
Yeah, the guy's like, well, I guess for you, I'd just pretty much charge you whatever it takes to run the background check. And I was like, well, that sounds like a $2 deal to me. So
that's not bad. A transfer for $2, because that normally comes in usually right around $25, and it can
I've
be
seen
more.
I've seen it as high as 30, 35 for some unscrupulous folks out there. But normally
I saw during the rush it was 50.
Yeah, during the rush
50 at some point.
Yeah. I've seen him normally. I see him at 27 to 25, somewhere in there. But yeah, getting it all told for $61, including shipping and transfer, I don't think I could do that anywhere else. Maybe with the exception of Brownells.
And Brownells isn't going to have that nice little Afghanistan engraving on that receiver.
Well, that's the whole reason why that's the whole reason.
That's a nice little reminder of your time.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole reason why Eugene Stoner designed that magazine so you can get some advertising in there.
I'm waiting for the made by Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Or the actual like Mattel Barbie stamp on there, the Hello Kitty. I'm got a Hello Kitty out there. I've seen some just horrible abortions in pink. Geez, some people's children.
Well, that's one of the things. I think that's why a lot of people like the AR series is it's customizable to everybody's individual tastes. Whether you want to go nuclear zombie emergency response team green, or if you want to do the many incantations or the different varieties of OD versus foliage green versus flat dark earth versus coyote tan versus something that has been dipped in a camo pattern of your choice. You can pretty much build it out any way you want. And for me, at least with this one, I have some sort of attachment to Afghanistan. Not that I would ever really want to claim that in person, but
You're not going to buy a summer home there?
no, actually, not. As a matter of fact,
The shady
Lord,
hills of West Kabul?
yeah, good Lord willing, I don't ever have to go back there. So
Yeah, let's hope, man. Let's
yeah.
hope.
So one of the funny things is that they did have the Iraq lower, and I
Hey,
tried
man,
to.
get one of those.
Well, I did. I tried to go to one of those, but it was the wonderful Palmetto State Armory anomaly of seeing something that says it is in stock and attempting to put it into your shopping cart, and then being told, "I'm sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle."
I believe the deal with Palmetto State and your princess being in another castle is that your princess doesn't cost enough to be in that castle at that time.
Exactly.
I truly think that's what it is because Palmetto State seems to be anything that's on the lower end or the discount end never seems to be available.
Yeah,
But
and
anything
that's
that's
yeah.
full price or above is they got plenty of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it's designed to do is to get maximum amount of page viewership and people just checking the site every day to see what comes available. Because I'll tell you this, I am in need of a single piece to complete my bolt carrier group because, like a dumb shit, I dropped the firing pin retaining pin in a slat wood floor and have not ripped out the floorboards to find it. So this is literally a 99-cent piece, and I have to go ahead and buy something additional to that in order to not have to pay $9 shipping for a 99-cent piece.
Man, you should buy another. You should buy another lower.
Yeah, you
I,
know, it's kind of, you're at that axiom of you dropped a quarter in an outhouse. Okay. Do you reach
yeah, but
your
it was a good quarter. It was a silver quarter.
Yeah, but do you go ahead and reach your hand into a bucket of shit for 25 cents, or do you just go ahead and drop a $10 bill in there just to make it worth
Well, let's see.
it?
At that point, I think I might almost cut my losses and just grab the quarter.
Yeah,
That's it,
there you go.
Yeah.
And I think that for those who would just grab the quarter, there's PTAC parts or Tapco.
And remember, when you apply Tapco to your firearm, the baby Jesus cries just a little bit.
Every time you install a Tapco part, another congressman from Illinois introduces an anti-gun bill.
Speaking of another anti-gun congressman from Illinois, give it to us.
All right, so our gun loser of the week is Representative Robin Kelly out of the U.S. House of Representatives from Illinois, District 2. She is a second-term representative, and she is a African
I feel the
American.
hope and change. I feel the hope.
I was going to say you alluded to it right there. She is a African American woman who represents portions of the great state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln. And just to kind of give you an idea of some of her co-sponsors, she's got the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee out of Texas.
Woohoo!
Yep.
What up, Sheila Jackson?
There you go. And,
All my brothers with the free bus passes. Thank you, baby.
they do. Not only that, those Obama phones. So, Michael Honda out of California. Some really, really well-known gun grabbers. Barbara
Mike
Lee.
Honda Mike Honda out of California. He's also the guy who's sponsoring the Body Armor Act. Is that correct?
Exactly. So there's quite a few provisions that she's sponsoring, and all of her House resolutions that she is the sponsor on or co-sponsor. Keeping Guns from High Risk Individuals Act. That's one that I wanted to kind of poke on. It's like like we don't already try to keep guns from high risk individuals. I mean,
Well, and that's interesting. That brings up Bloomberg's statements from earlier this week, and he was speaking about high-risk individuals, which were minority males between the ages of 17 and 31, and he said that we should absolutely do everything we can to possibly keep guns out of the hands of that high-risk group.
yeah.
That would appear to be a somewhat racist statement.
Well, Michael, Black Lives Matter. If anything we've learned over the summer is that Black Lives Matter. And
I'm fairly disturbed by this. This seems to be another episode of the elite. What's good for me is best for me, and you don't get any.
Well, you know.
Uh, and signaling out or singling out the minorities, which in the United States, well, I'll tell you what. Here's an eye-opening fact: there's more salsa sold in the United States than ketchup. I think the minorities are the majority right now, and to be honest with you, that's a quite a large demographic to
Well,
kind of single out.
see, I'm a quick study of demographics in our country, and I've actually taken some accredited college courses on the subject, and I've gotten into some pretty lengthy arguments, or shall I say debates. And when you look at it, the makeup of our country, the demographic distribution of our country is still overwhelmingly white. Just Caucasian folks, average everyday white folks. The black folk population, or what we call African American in the politically correct circles,
I
is
believe politically correct is called urban.
no. That's a distinction between whether you have a lot of farmland in your backyard or you've got a concrete structure that's 10 feet away.
Ah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Or if you listen to a certain type of music on the radio. So anyhow, you've got all this opportunity in terms of the black population that is, to be able to expand on their footprint in terms of population in our country, but they are being overtaken by folks who identify as Hispanic or Latino, which does not, by the way, include anybody of Portuguese descent or basically Cubans or folks from Spain, which I find completely insane that the word Hispanic, which is a derivative of Spanish, does not indicate folks from the Iberian Peninsula.
That is mind-boggling.
It completely is.
But it completely sums up government efficiency at this time.
Well, I think it's like that for a reason, because when you hyphenate, you separate, right?
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. Black Lives Matter, right? Not in Africa. Because if you are from Southern Africa, you may be a white person. If you're from South Africa, chances are you could be a white person. If you're from Western Africa, you may be a light-skinned black person. If you're from Eastern Africa, you may be a dark-skinned African. And
if you're from Northern Africa, you look like an Arab.
there you go. And they don't play well together. Ask anybody who's had to do any dealings with the Ebola lately.
Hey, speaking of Ebola, and this is totally off the gun subject, any news on that dude out of Fort Hood that took the dirt nap in his front yard?
No, it's actually been very quiet in Army circles about it, although this past week was a bad week for soldiers. We've had about 4 soldiers die of different causes, some of which have been released to the public, some of which have not. There was a vehicle rollover with a soldier being killed at Fort Carson, which is outside of Colorado Springs. You could go to Fort Hood, had another soldier that was found dead in his home. There was an airman in Germany that was found dead in his dorm. Deaths happen every day, so
Right.
It's not one of those things that is going to stop anybody from doing the things that they do. But it's interesting in a sense that we're here to talk about firearms, and you know what? We've got some important news that some of the soldiers who were impacted by an individual who was acting as an agent of a foreign power when he went and shot up the Soldier Readiness Processing Center at Fort Hood. Some of those soldiers are actually going to get recognition for being wounded in basically what is a act of terrorism. Finally, from
That's right. They're gonna give him the Purple Heart. Is that correct?
Yeah, not only they're going to give him the Purple Heart, but some of the civilian staff who were also shot, and I believe some of the people who were credited with stopping Nidal Hassan have been granted the civilian equivalent of recognition for their sacrifice and being injured in the line of duty. So,
boy, nothing like a day late and a dollar short.
You know what? It only took since 2009. Here it is, almost 6 years later.
I don't know, man. I think the whole thing's broken. I really do.
Well, it's not set up for anybody to win. So you know what? You look at.
I'm gonna have to take exception to that because I do think it's set up for somebody to win.
Oh, it just ain't us.
It ain't us.
It ain't
We
us.
are not too big to fail, my friend, we are just the right size.
Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody who has had a little bit of the too big to fail mantra thrown at him, but obviously was not too big to fail, was our favorite newsman who likes to embellish his stories a little bit. Brian Williams decided to say that he was not being targeted by rocket propelled grenades. And may have misrepresented that or misremembered that, and now has been suspended for 6 months by the president of NBC.
Yeah, but not before grabbing an attorney because the first move if you're innocent is you grab an attorney.
That's right. You lawyer up. There you go. So,
Interesting.
it's one of those things. But you know what? One of the things that I did see, I think I've talked a couple times before. We did have this bulletin board system where I work, and I'm starting to see that it looks like we've got some buyer's remorse going on. We've got quite a few AR style firearms that are being let go for the rock bottom price of $900, which to me indicates two things. Number one, the individual probably bought them $300 more than that. And the second part is probably had a little bit of trouble paying off some Christmas debt, because here it is, only the beginning to midpoint of February, and we're selling those. Something ain't right.
Right. Now, what are these items in particular?
So these are
there could be some buyer's remorse with some of the items that have been for sale recently.
Right. And one of the things that I saw that was kind of lead me to believe that it may have been buyer's remorse was that it was a individual that had a Rock River Arms upper and lower, and in the same ad, in addition to that, what he wanted $900 for that complete setup was that he had an additional 6.8 upper. So, he wanted $300 for the 6.8 upper, but he also wanted $900 for the complete setup. So, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, he's trying to offload the whole shebang here. Sounds like this guy wanted to do some kind of 3-gun competition maybe, or decided that he wanted to, to be able to take down a small independent African republic, and he had better thoughts about it, or at least his wife did. One of the two.
Yeah, I think the fact that the 6.8 comes in at about $2 a round, no matter where you find it, I think that has something to do with it right there. There's a little bit of buyer's remorse that comes with finding that your item takes ammo that you cannot find.
Well, not only cannot find, but it hurts the wallet a whole lot.
Yeah, it's even worse when you can find it and you can't afford it.
Yeah. So what do you do, right? What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you from my local buying area, I'm seeing a slowdown in the activity, and seems to be more towards high-end rifles that are moving. It's high-end rifles and mid to lower-end semi-autos. It doesn't appear like anything like the Colts are moving right now, and lower-end AR-15s aren't moving. High-end AR-15s are moving. That Rock River, for example, would probably be gone at $900 here rather fast.
Well, exactly, and that's one of the things I think we've talked about a lot, is that making sure that you understand the market and the nuances of the area where you're at, and whether or not you're willing to put in the extra legwork in order to go ahead and get your individual item sold, whether it's at a premium or whether you're taking a loss on it.
And there is somewhat of a loss when you purchase brand new. I mean, I really don't see getting back your FFL fee. I don't see getting back your transfer fee. I really don't.
Right.
But that's just not the way it's working. I mean, it appears that American gun owners wish to have their firearms exactly as the president wishes to have his aliens, and that is undocumented.
Well,
so it
brown
appears
is
that
the new black.
It is apparent and provable right now that people are willing to pay a premium to not have their name attached to it, which in the end is silly, because if you have one, you have all of them.
Yeah.
And if you've ever filled out the yellow form 4473, if you filled it out once, you filled it out 100 times. If you've ever been a member of the NRA without having filled out a 4473, you're on that list as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You talk about some of the firearms organizations that espouse that they are out there looking for our rights in front of Congress. Actually, I kind of think that the NRA has fallen largely silent in the last couple months. Haven't really seen any commercials on TV for the NRA, with the exception of on the Sportsman's Channel. But I do remember seeing some on Fox News a while back at the height of the big scare.
Right. Please donate. Please donate.
Yeah,
Please donate.
and not only that, once you're on their phone roster for calling you at every hour of the night, because oh, by the way, when I was in Korea, I was getting phone calls at 3 in the morning saying, "Oh, sir, we thought it was 9 in the evening your time." Oh, really? Because you know what Republic of Korea means, right? It doesn't mean a section of Los Angeles.
That's, I believe, probably what they thought.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, see, I've got a problem with the NRA just because they don't represent the shooter. They represent the industry. And I'm not saying that the industry doesn't need defense, but they're more than happy to sell out the shooter to save the industry. And that's apparent in many ways, and it's been in collusion with some of the manufacturers. Smith and Wesson, for one. I personally won't buy another Smith and Wesson product ever again. I will never buy a brand new Smith and Wesson product ever again, and that's for damn sure. The NRA, they sell your information to everybody. Anybody ever notice that after joining the NRA, about a week after that, you get a mailer for American Handyman Club and then American Outdoor Society and all this. They sold your name to somebody. So if they're selling it to these yahoos that are peddling, Chinese screwdrivers through the mail, you know that they gave that list of who's in their organization to whoever they wanted to give it to. And if it's at the point of a gun, they did it.
Well, not only that, they are not doing any kind of vetting of whoever they're selling the information to. And wouldn't it be a stretch to think that there was some anti-gun organization that would put up a front or a business that is not legitimate to go ahead and get that information, and now all of a sudden there is a donor list with people who likely either own firearms or intend to buy firearms?
This is really an important point you're bringing up, and this is like the infiltration into this society. Something I've become aware of in the last couple of weeks is when people post a firearm, say for sale online, and they post a picture of it, try not to put your serial number in there. There have been cases of people who are anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment, calling in and saying that my firearm with serial number blah 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 that they're reading off the screen has been stolen, and I see it for sale here.
Right. Yeah. And
what happens if you bought that used and you don't have a bill of sale from the store?
Yeah. And in some states, a bill of sale is not required. I mean, I personally think that if you're gonna make a purchase, it behooves you to have something that says you tendered some kind of payment for this, and that you did it with the understanding that there was no impediment to either the seller or you as the purchaser from owning that firearm.
I agree, for your own personal safety. But some people don't even wish to go that far. If the law says you can sell it on a handshake, that's fine.
Well, no, that's it.
At a point too.
Yeah, but
primarily you're supposed to take care of it.
Yeah, it's just to make sure that you have that much more of a barrier between you and some overzealous law enforcement activity that decides to go ahead and say, you know what, we're no longer going to put the burden of proof on us. We are going to put the burden of proof on you to prove your innocence, rather than the other way around is what it's supposed to be. So just be aware, if you are going to post something for sale or something, keep your serial number private. Yeah, certainly. Put a piece of paper and tape it over it.
If you've got a photo editing option on your device, go ahead and use that and just blank out that serial number with that. That works as well.
Yeah,
just be aware these things happen. A little bit of more firearms related news. Looks like Para Ordnance is no longer. I shouldn't say Para Ordnance. I should say Para USA is no more.
Right. It looks like they're being integrated into Remington, and this is a story that came out yesterday. So Remington Outdoor Company has announced that they will be absorbing Para USA under their Remington umbrella or Remington family of firearms. They'll be getting rid of the Para name, but keeping the products and rebranding them as Remington pistols. Uh, the biggest thing that I kind of thought is like as being a Para ordnance owner was that basically what it's going to come down to is that Remington Outdoor Company will recognize and continue to support Para's lifetime warranty promise on all Para handguns. So there's a phone number, there's an email. If you own Para Ordnance 1911, you know what, you're going to be able to get any kind of warranty or recall service performed. Don't worry about it.
And with the 1911, it's with the standard 1911. It's the standard pattern 1911, I should say. It's not as much of a concern because it just may be cheaper and easier for you to go out and down to your local gun shop and buy the part that you need to replace that. But if you've got something that's odd and unique to the Para line, such as the P14 wide body, which is really a nifty pistol. It's a 14 round, all metal, 1911, 45 ACP. That's a pretty nifty item. Parts are not necessarily readily available for that everywhere. So it's nice to know that Remington is going to step up and take care of that.
Yeah, certainly. And short of getting something out of a U.S. government surplus where, maybe some Marine Corps guys that work up in Quantico who deal with 1911s, bringing them back out of storage and checking them for functions and replacing springs and those kind of things. Short of getting somebody who's qualified to do that, you know what, maybe it is a better idea to make friends with your local firearms store and seeing if they have somebody that works in the back that does repairs. Maybe it's worth it to get to know those folks. I think
and I'll tell you what, at the point of getting to know the guy who does repairs, you can educate yourself now. We're in the modern era. This is the 90s, and the YouTube is there. And I'll tell you what, anything you wanted to learn about taking apart a 1911 or any other handgun basically is on YouTube.
Yeah, and it is. And one of the good things about it is that, instead of sitting there taking a class where you're around a bunch of folks you'd rather not be around or folks that have, more stories than Brian Williams, you could actually sit down, enjoy the instruction that you're seeing, back it up, speed it up, whatever you need to do for comfort of your own home, even be able to take it on a laptop out into your workshop so you can sit there and do what you need to do as you're looking at it. I'll tell you, that's how I put together my first AR-15 lower parts kit on a lower receiver, was sitting there side by side using YouTube to go ahead and put the stuff together and, taking my time, never having done it before, took it to a guy who does it all the time. And I'm like, hey, do me a favor, take a look at this. Tell me if I screwed up. And the guy's like, no, everything functions as it should do. Good job. So, you're going to get a little bit of self-confidence out of it as well as some self-satisfaction, making sure that you did something for yourself and you know what, you didn't end up dropping a big dime to get it done.
That's right. And it's a little bit more than a big dime. The nearest gun shop to me charges $65 an hour.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and and they're almost kind of like an auto shop where they bill by the book. So, let's say you want to change a guide rod, which is something that you just basically disassemble a pistol, pop it out, and put a new one in it. They'll charge you $65 for that, plus the price of the part.
Yeah, and we talk about Cerakoting things from time to time. Most folks that do Cerakoting for your pistols, if they have to go ahead and take down that firearm to get it to the frame, they'll charge you for it. But here you go. Here's an opportunity for you to be able to disassemble it, get it to where either you just need to send in the frame, and you get it coated and get it back, and then you can go ahead and reassemble it yourself.
And this may not be for everybody. This may not be also for every firearm. Personally, I'm not a big fan of taking apart a revolver. That's just not my idea of fun. I've done it before, and I'm not very happy with the results. And I probably won't do it again. But I'll take a semi-auto pistol down to bare parts. That's not a problem. It's basically pushing pins out and making sure springs kind of go back in the right order. It's basic functionality. I mean, these are things that are made in garages and in bicycle shops in war-torn areas that don't have electricity or plumbing. We as Americans can do this with electricity and air conditioning and light and the internet. So put your effort out there. It's worth your time, and like Nick says, the satisfaction is, well, you can't get any better than that.
Yeah, and I think that anybody that has a hobby that has learned how to do something in that hobby feels a great sense of satisfaction when they do it and they do it right. And nothing is more satisfying that when you put together something that goes boom and you take it out and it doesn't go kaboom instead.
The dreaded kaboom. Nice little item that I did see on the Palmetto State website. They have a fully supported barrel for a Glock 40, which should eliminate the dreaded Glock 40 hand grenade disease.
So go ahead and explain that one.
All right, the Glock 40 is basically, it's the same frame as a 9mm. It's got less plastic in it to accommodate bigger parts for a 40 caliber.
Right.
The barrel is unsupported at the very back of the case, at the right near the rebate, right below the rim. These have been known to fail dramatically. That area of the cartridge not being supported tends to just follow basic laws of physics, and that's the area where it's gonna break. And that has led to several catastrophic failures of Glock handguns, and it's almost always in the 40 caliber that happens. Well, Palmetto State Armory has come up with a barrel for a Glock that's a drop-in replacement that is supported in that area to, I guess that'll help the people with the 40 caliber Glock. I'm not a 40 caliber Glock fan.
Well, I have a 40 caliber Glock, and I've never had.
And I pray for you every night, Nick. Yeah. Every night.
I've never had any kind of malfunction except with when it was the Winchester white box ammo. So be that what it is.
I think with the Winnie white box, you could almost just blame the Winnie white box. That's the way that kind of works out, I think.
Well, that humidity does play a role. That, like I said, this was a firearm that I had stored for the first year while I was living overseas, and I was actually being stored in Hawaii. And I know that the ammunition that I had in an ammo case just didn't fare well. Hawaii is nearly 65 to 75% humidity. And then when it rains, obviously, can fall as just as a mist, which is almost every day. You leave it up there for a year in an attic, and unfortunately things go bad. So it was interesting because when I went and looked at the primers on those, normally when I see pistol ammo, there's a good little coating around the primer. And that Winchester white box didn't have that coating. So I was wondering if something, got in through that little gap between the primer and the shell. And
that is a very, very decent possibility. A lot of the imported ammo does have a lacquer on the primer that seals it. Some people have been known to take clear nail polish and paint the ends of Winnie white box. I think that's kind of like polishing a turd. I think Winnie white box is great to go out and plink with. I don't even know if I.
Oh, sounds like we lost Michael there for a second. When you look at it, there's a lot of things out there that folks need to be aware of when it comes down to the firearms of their choice, and making sure that the weapon itself is in good shape, and not only that, but the ammunition is as well. And the ammunition needs to be able to, cycle reliably, fire on time, and then be able to extract. So when you look at it, it's one of those things that you take a little bit of a risk. You spend a little bit, a little bit more. You do it. Here we go, folks. Sounds like we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. I apologize for that. We got some opportunity to get folks back in here, so we're going to have Michael join us back in just a moment. He's getting connected again.
I believe I am connected again.
Awesome. There we go. That's
Sorry about that. I have no idea what that was.
I believe that was our friendly friends at the three-letter agencies telling you you've had enough to drink, young man.
Man, I didn't even get to talk about the dancing Israelis.
Yeah, I swear.
I'll tell you what, it looks like Netanyahu isn't going to be opening his big yapper in front of Congress.
Yeah,
that's kind of a nice thing.
I don't know that he is or isn't. All I know is that we've got some folks that say that they're going to listen to him, and some folks that say that they're not, and some people are going to show, and some people are not. So with the wonder of live radio, you get us in all of our glory. So we got our guys in the chat saying we're 5x5, so life is good.
Good.
So, yeah, I think when it comes down to it, we talked with our buddy Oddball last week. I got a message from him today. He went out to the Post Exchange to the Sportsman Center, and unfortunately they close at 5:00. So anybody that works for a living in the Army generally is not off by 5:00. That's not necessarily me, but for folks who actually earn a living, they're still working at 5:00 and probably till about 6 or 6:30. So when he got over there, he was pretty upset that they shut down at 5:00 when nobody is going to be able to get out there and purchase a firearm. But one of the things that he saw that he wanted me to bring up was that the exchange, for anybody who's been a member of the military, genuinely has a policy of price matching. However, when it came to firearms, they have a big sign that says we will not price match. So that means two things. It means, number one, that the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, which runs the post exchange on either an Army post or an Air Force base, they don't like competition. And number two, they're going to make some money on the deal. They're not losing out.
Yeah, that almost seems, if they're saying directly they won't price match it, that's almost like saying we will gouge.
Well, I don't know so much that it's we will gouge, is that they will turn a profit on the sale. They are not losing money on the deal. And when you have a captive audience like military folks are to begin with, because folks that live on the installations, for them, number one, if it's an Army post, we're not in a major metropolitan area. 9 times out of 10, you are in an area where there is a Walmart outside the gate, but if you want to go look at some
nobody wants to go to Walmart.
I was going to say, if you want to look at rather large Americans at midnight on the 31st using their EBT cards, you go right ahead and show
enhanced, size enhanced.
Yeah,
that's what we're calling them now.
There it is. Well,
and they are no longer potatoes; they are furniture-based leisure prioritizers.
Okay, that works. So yeah, I think when it comes to it, folks back in the day, I've talked to a lot of veterans who used to purchase firearms on base, and they had good deals back in the day, but that just doesn't exist anymore. So one of the things that, like we said earlier, just make sure if you're going to start purchasing firearms, get to know your folks at your local gun store, become a valued customer. There are some gun stores that could care less whether you lived or died, and especially anybody who restricts your ability to purchase .22 long rifle, I think falls into that category.
Yeah, a lot of the local shops have really kind of given the industry a bad name and have made it tough for first-time shooters and newcomers to it. They've turned it into an old boys club, and that's not conducive to bringing new people in and keeping the. I don't even want to call it a sport. I want to call it keeping our right alive. And I think that's where a lot of the magazines and the media will refer to it as the shooting sports. I don't want to really refer to it as that. It's our right.
Well, not only that, I think you saw at the height of the scare when it was a very real possibility that Dianne Feinstein was going to be able to get a assault weapons ban reinstituted. There was a big push in a lot of the outdoor magazines that I was a subscriber to that tried to equate what was the new term called modern sporting rifles. They were trying to basically equate AR-15 series firearms, whether it was AR-10 or AR-15, trying to equate that with bolt action rifles. And I think that on its own, the merits of a armed population could understand It doesn't matter what tool you use to do the job. It matters that the tool is available for you to use and being legal to do so. If I want to go shoot a wild hog in Texas, it shouldn't matter whether I want to use an AR-15 or if I want to use a bolt action rifle or if I want to use a semi-automatic, hunting rifle. It doesn't matter. But there are those people out there that it does matter to, and they make an argument based on the scare factor or the aesthetic factor, and they don't want people to be able to have the black rifle. They don't necessarily know that it's a 1022 with an archangel stock. They don't care. They look at it.
No, it's just scary.
It's because they're black.
Well, Nick, I've seen this, and the idea being pushed by our so-called leadership is really showing the divide in the people. And let's go back to the Senator Menendez sponsored bill with the 10-round magazine limit. Recently, that it was proffered that people who want a magazine of greater than 10 rounds are just stocking them to use against the government. Well, I'll tell you what, big guy, you're absolutely 100% fucking right. That's exactly what they're stocking it for. That is the reason. And take message. Get on point here, buddy, because that's why they're getting them. That's why they want them. Yeah. They don't want them to hunt deer. They don't want them to hunt grouse. They want them to hunt congressmen.
Yeah. Well, you take a look at this. You look at Congress, which up until a couple years ago, folks didn't know about. Places in West Virginia where the entire Congress and their staff was able to be whisked away in the event of a national emergency. And you got to figure that there is a protected class in our country, and for 99.9% of it, it's not us. So we have to be able to do what we need to do to protect ourselves, protect our property, protect our livelihoods, and that is the responsible ownership of firearms and ammunition. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody going out there and buying 1,000 rounds of ammunition, just like there's no problem with somebody going out there and buying 1,000 gallons of fuel for their boat. That's
right. There's no problem with somebody going out and buying 1,000 rolls of toilet paper.
Exactly. But here's the thing: when you take a look at the legislation that's being pushed a lot of times in Congress, people want to have responsible limits, right? That's one of the things that
sensible
I think is
reform, man.
Exactly.
Sensible reform.
When I hear about responsible limits, thing that comes to mind for me, term limits. You want responsible limits? Let's get rid of people like Harry Reid that sit there and get the NRA seal of approval because they go ahead and they back him every year. And what has the guy done? I mean, if that's not just the biggest slap in the face to anybody who has a
that should show exactly what the NRA is.
Exactly. It's a lobbying organization, and that because Harry Reid in his home state of Nevada goes ahead and sponsors a bill to get a certain area of federal land agreed to turn it over to the state government so they can build a firearms range, and that doesn't necessarily to me mean that the guy is a friend of the Second Amendment or folks who.
Oh, absolutely not. No, he's more of a friend to the contractor who's got the more than likely multi-million-dollar deal to build that shooting range in the middle of nowhere, Nevada.
Yeah. So I mean, people always got to be aware of what's going on. People got to be aware of what their legislators are doing on their behalf. And not only that, but the folks that are not doing stuff on their behalf too, like our honorable Robin Kelly out of Illinois. So, Michael, I think we need to go ahead and hit the 4 facets of firearm safety.
All right. Rule number 1: every firearm is loaded until you visually and physically inspect it and make sure that it is safe. Rule number 2: keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction at all times. Rule number 3: know what your target is and know what is beyond your target. And rule number 4, the most important rule of all: keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire.
Yeah, and you can't get much more to the point than that. And one of the things that I want to encourage our listeners to do is go out there and spend some of their money and maybe teach a youngster how to shoot responsibly. Whether it's with the 22 cricket rifle, or you want to move them up to something a little bit bigger like a 5.56 or a 243 if they're in the hunting woods. just getting a chance to be out there in the sunshine and away from the video games or the cell phone or the smartphone or whatever, you get a chance to let them explore, let them see, the great outdoors as it was meant to be, for as long as it lasts. And it gives you an opportunity to bond. And you know what? Those kids will appreciate that. And you may not necessarily remember those times, but they will. And
I'll tell you what, get your kid a single shot 20 gauge. 20 gauge ammo is cheap. It teaches them some discipline, and it teaches them to handle something that's got a little more boom to it, and they'll have a lifelong love for it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we always talk about the 12 versus 20, and I'm starting to become a big fan of the 20 gauge. So if you got a chance to get out there and shoot one, you know what? Figure out what works for you, because you know what? Just because all I knew of shotguns back in the day was that there was 12 and there was nothing else. That's not the case. So
yeah, the 20, anything you can do with the 12, you can do with the 20.
Yeah, maybe not as far, but you can certainly knock down a turkey with a 12 gauge just like you could with a 20. So.
And that's turkeys of all varieties.
That's right.
Jive turkeys included.
So that's one of the things I think. Next week, I'm going to see if I can go ahead and talk to one of my coworkers. He's kind of floated the idea that he wants to part with the semi-automatic Remington shotgun that's in 20 gauge. So I'll see if I can actually get a chance to take a look at it, and I'd like to give you a field report about that next week.
That's cool. Well, I'll tell you what. As we speak, my epoxy is setting up, and I will have a report on how these two items fared with my repairs.
Awesome. Well, I want to go ahead and give a quick thanks to our listeners out here on UCY.tv. We got the average of 14 listeners at an episode, and thanks guys for listening. I appreciate getting a chance to following along on chat, and then sometimes we get a chance to answer the questions you guys throw out there, and we enjoy doing it. And Michael, thank you for getting me out here and being on with you.
Dick, I totally appreciate you coming out here. I look forward to every episode I have. I look forward to every talk I have with you. I'd like to give a thanks to our dozen plus two in the chat. Love you guys. Jules, thank you very much for UCY.tv. Everybody, UCY.tv, pretty innovative platform. There's a little bit of everything for everybody out there. It's worth it. It's worth a listen. Pass it on to your friends. It's pretty good information, and best of all, there's no commercials. Nobody's selling anything. All we're selling is our love for, well, basically our passion. This is what kind of like turns our crank. So we're really proud to be able to share this with you, and I feel kind of lucky to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's good times, and UCY.TV's got some good stuff following us up. Michael, who's on next?
Prepper Chicks Live After Dark. That's always some innovative radio right there. They got the game, the conflicted card game. Lots of interesting scenarios posed. That makes you think, what would you do in that situation? It's kind of radio that's not a
good times. So yeah, like I said, I think we're going to get ready to come into some winter weather in my area. So hopefully next week I'll be able to tell you and tell you all about that 20 gauge with about an inch or two of snow on the ground.
Yeah, seriously, I think we're probably about 3 days away from turning on the air conditioners here. I got bit by mosquitoes today.
Oh my goodness, the ice has broken on the Gulf Coast apparently.
That's right. The ice on the Guadalupe River has broken.
we used to have parties for that in Arizona.
That's right, the ice break contest. I'll tell you what, I'm calling the Soviets right now, and I'm telling them to send the icebreakers back. The Victoria Barge Canal is open. No need to send those guys. We're gonna be fine.
Oh, you guys are gonna be doing okay. Guess what? You may be able to do some business with Cuba here soon.
You know what? We're a straight shot, man.
I tell you what, man. You guys are just gonna have to kind of swerve around that Deepwater Horizon spill, but you'll be okay.
Yeah, but you know what? That's kind of like that speed strip of Mario Brothers. You just hit that and you go a little bit faster.
Well, yeah, and then you get the little black trail that goes behind you.
Yeah, that's where the bad guys don't get you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, everybody. UCY.TV. Stick around. Thanks a lot, everyone.